If you are traveling west on Interstate 20 and come to the Texas-Louisiana border, it will take you about 6.5 to 7 hours before you reach the towns of Clyde and Abilene. Once you have reached this area, you are officially in West Texas. And if you continued to travel west, it would take you another 6.5 to 7 hours to continue your drive through West Texas until you reach El Paso and the Texas-New Mexico border. Continuing your westerly journey, you will notice that the green and hills fade into very flat areas of brown and tan desert dust. This pattern will continue for several hours until you hit the rocky outcroppings that are on the Texas-New Mexico border. Some have come to call this region Big Sky Country, as the farms and ranches that dot this land stretch out for miles with no major hills or trees to obstruct the view from the sky up above. Old structures, such as this skeleton of a schoolhouse that used to be in Sylvester, as well as places like Newman Cemetery, are reminders of generations of people who have once lived on this land and their descendants that have followed after them. While Robin and I do love traveling and exploring on our motorcycle, sometimes we do sneak off in our old trusty 1995 Ford pickup and head out to beautiful, scenic, and quiet places to hang out. Another one right behind them.
Yeah.
However, that silence just might be broken by a transport plane, just skirting the tops of the trees until it breaks into an open field, or perhaps a B-1 on a training run breaking the sound barrier. This area has been inhabited by the woolly mammoth, as very large tusks have been found from them in these areas, as well as very large spear points from native tribes that used to call this area home. And there are some very interesting museums, such as the Frontier Museum in Abilene and the little museum in Sweetwater, Texas, that house, I would say, thousands of arrowheads and spear points that help document this area's history. Where are you, Robin? An old rock house.
Western Texas.
Once again, I have to thank Robin for being such a good sport. She really tries to enjoy herself, but I know this particular day she had a little bit of a headache when we set out on our motorcycle ride, and by the time we finished up several hours into it, heading to Abilene and making a big loop around towards Sweetwater and back towards Sylvester, she had a pretty full-blown migraine, so I felt very bad for her at the end of it. I have to say that I feel very privileged to have lived on this property for about 3 years growing up. And while I hated picking stumps out of these stinking fields, I feel as though we worked hard and we're probably closer as a family than any other time in our lives. We got to experience bucking hay, running cattle on horseback, and those are all experiences that I'm afraid are lost on these new generations.